Well, if you look at the past 17 years that Vladimir Putin has been in power in Russia, there has certainly been a very high mortality rate among the people who, in one way or another, have crossed the Kremlin's path. Well, twice in the past 2 years, I have experienced symptoms consistent with poisoning, both times in Moscow. I say that I now have 3 birthdays, one from my parents and 2 from this doctor who saved my life twice. I have absolutely no doubt that this was an attempt to kill because of my political activities, because of my activities in the Russian democratic opposition. The first time happened in May 2015. I was at a work meeting. I felt my heart racing, I felt palpitations, sweating, and I began vomiting, and within literally a few minutes basically became incapacitated, and then I lost consciousness and I don't remember anything for the next 2 months. What I know from what the doctors and my wife later told me is that I suddenly had a succession of organ failure, leading to multiple organ failure, with all the major life organs basically shutting down one after another, and I was in coma and on life support. And the second time, this happened just a couple of months ago in February of 2017. And this time, the symptoms began just a couple of hours before I was supposed to leave my apartment in Moscow for the airport and actually take a flight to the United States. So I think presumably that was the calculation, that these symptoms would begin on the plane and that I would basically die on the plane, because within 6 hours all of my organs were down. And again, doctors said there's a 5% chance to survive. Again, they saved my life for the second time. We have seen political opposition leaders and activists, whistleblowers, anti-corruption campaigners, independent journalists lose their lives in one way or another. Sometimes these are, suspicious suicides, plane crashes, really rare and horrible diseases, apparently. In many other cases, they are straight murders, like the Russian opposition leader Boris Nemtsov, former deputy prime minister of Russia, who was gunned down just in front of the Kremlin by 5 bullets in his back 2 years ago. This was the highest profile political assassination in Russia in decades. Those who had organized and ordered the killing have not been identified or charged by the investigative authorities. But there has been certainly a very high mortality rate among the critics of Mr. Putin in the last several years. There's no doubt about it. The current regime is a dead end. Our country has no future and no prospects under the current regime. It is very important for those of us who believe in Russia's future to continue our work so that one day Russia may become a normal, modern, democratic European country where the government is freely chosen by the people, where the people are able to freely criticize the government, where the media is able to criticize the government. And so when I'm physically able, once I fully recover and I'm back to normal physically, I do want to go back to Russia and resume my work in the